Another type of transformation is a reflection. For your video notes today, we're going to focus on reflections, which are also flipped images of the figure. So the figure is flipped over a line. That's what happens here in a reflection. When it's reflected over the x-axis, the x value stays the same, but the y value becomes the opposite. When it's reflected over the y-axis, the x value becomes the same and the y value stays the same. So we'll see how this looks in our examples. So let's look at our first reflection over the x-axis. So we're reflecting over the x-axis, so keep in mind that means that our figure is going to flip over the x-axis. So you want to make sure you know what axis you're flipping over. So here's how this works. Let's look at point A. So point A is a couple, let's see, it's 1, 2, 3 points above the x-axis. So to flip it over the x-axis, we're just going to go 3 points below. So it's a matter of counting. So our A prime will be here. And remember, like we said on the last type of transformation, you have to label everything. So that's A prime. Let's do B. So B is 1 unit from the x-axis. So to flip it, we reverse it and go 1 unit down. And that's where we're going to plot B. And of course, we're going to label it B prime. And finally, point C. Point C is 2 units above the x-axis, so we reverse and go 2 units down. And point C will be right here. And we label it, of course, C prime. Now neatly connect. So let's nice and neat connect. And what you'll see is our image has flipped over the x-axis. Let's write our ordered pairs. So A prime. So A prime is forward 2, and it went down 3, so negative 3. B prime is forward 3 and down 1. And C prime is forward 1 and down 2. Now, let's make a note. Let's look over here. We reflected it over the x-axis. The x value should have stayed the same and the y value should become the opposite. So the x values stayed the same and the y values became the opposite. So that's another way to think about it. For the next example, we're going to reflect over the y-axis. So when we reflect over the y-axis, the x value becomes the opposite. The y value stays the same. Let's see how this one looks. Okay, this time we have that square, and we're reflecting over the y-axis. Okay, so this time, here's our y-axis. So our image is going to flip over and be in quadrant 4 here. It's going to flip over there. Okay, ready to count? So we just have to count units to move this here. Okay, let's start with the M. So M is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units from the y-axis. So flip it and go 5 units in the other direction from the y-axis. So that puts us right here. And then label it with an M. I like to label as I go along so I can keep track of each point. That's M prime. Okay, let's do the A. The A is 2 units from the y-axis, so we move 2 units in the opposite direction, and that puts us right here. That's going to be our A prime. Mark it A prime. All right, now we're on to H, and I can see that H is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units from the y-axis. So we go back to the y-axis and go forward 5. And this is where our new H will be. H prime. Try to get that up more. Okay. And label H prime. And then I can kind of see our last point. T is 2 away, so 2 in the opposite direction. T prime will be right there. And label that T prime. Okay, our final step is to connect neatly. There we go. So let's write our ordered pairs. So M prime is, let's see, well, we start in the origin when we're naming our ordered pairs. It's forward 5, down 3. And A prime, oh, it spells math again. I just noticed that. Maybe you did too. Okay, our A prime is forward 2, down 2. And our T prime is forward 2, down 5. And H prime, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, forward 5, down 5. All right, let's go back and look at that rule from the beginning and see. Let's see. Okay, here, we reflected it over the y-axis, so our x value should have become the opposite. So our x value, these were all negative, and they all became positive over here. And then our y value is supposed to stay the same, and it looks like, yep, those are all the same. Ooh, one last thing, forgot to have you write the congruency statement, like we did with the translations. So we take our original figure, M-A-T-H, math, is congruent to the M prime, A prime, T prime, and H prime. Okay, so that's an important piece, and that'll come back to you down the road when you're in geometry more, but that is the congruency statement. All right, so let's look at our properties. The pre-image, so the original image and the new image, what's the word? Congruent. They are congruent. Congruent meaning they are the same size and the same shape. They have all the same side lengths and all the same angles. The corresponding angles are also congruent. That means every angle inside the figure of the pre-image and the new image are the same. And all the side lengths are congruent. Okay, so you should have everything completed on the front page, or the top part of the page. Okay, let's practice. So we're going to graph and label the pre-image and then reflect it. For our first one, we're reflecting it over the y-axis. Reflected over the y-axis. So I like to mark that just so I remember if I'm going over the x or the y. Okay, let's graph first. So 3, 4, forward 3, up 4. It's going to be right there, and we're going to mark it A, just regular A. Okay, and now we're going to go 0, 5, over 0, up 5. And we're going to mark that mark it with a B. Okay, and C is 1, 1. Forward 1, up 1. So right there. And we're going to mark that with a C. And let's neatly connect. And we have 3 sides, so we have a triangle. Okay, so now we're going to reflect over the y-axis. So watch carefully here. This is a little bit weird with the B, this one, because it's right on the y-axis. Okay, but let's just start with point A. I'll go alphabetically. So you can see that the A is 1, 2, 3 units from the y-axis, so just reverse it or flip it. 1, 2, 3 units in the opposite direction. So our new A is right here. A prime. Okay, now the B is already on the y-axis. So in this case, the new B or B prime just stays right in the same place. It's already on the y-axis, so it stays on the y-axis. And I don't know if we can fit a label here, but this is going to be B prime. And then our C is 1 unit from the y-axis, so we could reverse it and go the opposite direction. So our C prime will be right there. And let's connect it. And I like these kind. They kind of remind me of like butterfly wings or something. All right, let's write our ordered pairs. So A prime. So A prime is back 3, so -3 and +4. So when we flip over the y-axis, the y stays the same, and the x value becomes the opposite. Okay, B prime, that is actually the same. The y value stays the same, and the opposite of 0 is still 0. And then C prime looks like it's forward or back 1, up 1, -1, 1. And let's do a congruency statement, and then we'll move on to the next one. I'm going to put it over here on the side. So ABC, triangle ABC, is congruent to the equals with the squiggle sign. A prime, B prime, C prime. Okay? Okay, so remember, reflections, we flip. And there's a little SpongeBob for you. You know who you are. Okay, practice 2. Here we go. EFG. We're going to graph and label the pre-image and reflect it. This time we're reflecting over the x-axis. So we will reflect this over the x. All right, let's graph our pre-image first. So E is -3, -1. So back 3, down 1. So E is right there. Okay, F is 2, 4. So forward 2, down 4. Oh, I'm breaking my own rule. I didn't label. So here's E. Here's F. Okay, now G is back 5, -5, -6. So back 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Down 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it puts us right here. And that is G. All right, connect them neatly. Okay, now we're ready to flip it. We're flipping it again over the x-axis. Okay, so you can just count the distance from the x-axis. So I'm going to start right here with E. E is 1 block down. So I reverse and go 1 block up. And that's E prime. Okay, F is 1, 2, 3, 4 blocks down. So I reverse and go 4 up. 1, 2, 3, 4. And it's right here. And that's F prime. And finally, we do G. And G is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 away from the x-axis, so I go 6 up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we call that G prime. Okay, G prime. All right, connect it neatly. Okay, kind of butterfly looking to me, like wings. And let's write our ordered pairs. So beginning with E, so E prime is -3, +1. When we reflect over the x-axis, the x value stays the same, and the y value becomes the opposite. So that worked. Okay, F prime, so that's forward 2, down 4, or I'm sorry, F prime is forward 2, up 4. And then G prime is forward 5, or I'm sorry, oh my gosh, back 5, up 6. And our final step is the congruency statement. I'm going to fit it right here. So E, F, and G, remember the symbol, the equals with the squiggle. E prime, F prime, and G prime. Okay, so that's practice 2. Okay, so just remember we've learned 2 types of transformations so far, or practice 2 types. Translations, which are slides, and reflections, which are flips over the x or y axis. Okay, so don't forget those.